I don't say this lightly, but they disgraced Australia.
Riley Stuart, welcome to Fwends.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hang on, bear with. Hello.
Thank you so much for coming and doing our little show.
My pleasure.
We start this podcast with a question that we don't warn you of. Unless you've listened to the show, then you'll know.
Yeah.
No. So,
Guilty. Sprung.
I've resolved to listen to it from now.
Yeah.
From my episode.
Great.
yeah. The question is, do you think you're a good friend? Do you think you're a good friend? Do you think you're a good friend?
I actually think I'm a great friend.
Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, no
Confidently?
hesitation.
Yeah.
I am just confident in who I am, the relationships I've built, and I've even had people tell me, not that I'm a good friend, but sort of people that I've met along the journey who have met friends I've made previously.
Yeah.
And they've said, wow, you've got such amazing friends. And I think that made me reflect a little bit on maybe
The common link is me.
But yeah, well, maybe I'm doing something right, you know.
Would you like to reflect on that for about 50 minutes?
In a sort of lesson-based way, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I'm not the perfect friend, but I definitely value all of the relationships I've got in my life. I try to make time for people and be generous as well, whether it's financially or like picking up a bill spontaneously, or whether it's just generous with time, etc.
This is going to be one of the, I know now, this is going to be one of those episodes that I'm going to feel like shit throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
This is one of those ones.
Because if anyone splits bills.
Yeah. Look, I just respect the way the Dutch do it.
It's actually so
I think that's true. We've known each other a long time. I would say that you're a good friend. We haven't known each other long enough for me to be your first friend, though. Do you remember who your first friend was?
I do. It was my friend Andrew. And this has got me thinking about that because I haven't spoken to him for 5 years. The last time I saw him was at my 30th birthday party.
Here he is now.
Yeah, he's here today.
And he's mad.
Yeah.
I've still got his number
Okay.
in my
Yeah,
phone.
yeah.
So like I could text him, and I will text him after this and
Yeah.
tell him that he will be on the
The
Fwends
podcast.
Yeah.
That's all.
And at your 40th.
But I mean, we haven't lived in the same city for
Yeah, exactly.
10 years. And so
Yeah.
I guess that we haven't caught, it's not like he lived around the corner.
Is it that you've lost touch, or is it did something happen, or just sort of fizzled from circumstance?
We hadn't been in regular contact for quite a long time, but he was easily my first friend. Our parents were friends when
Was it school? Preschool?
preschool. We were like babies,
Yeah,
you know.
right.
So we don't remember the first times we
Yeah.
met each other, but it was that early, sort of mothers groups and things.
Yeah.
And then we never went to the same schools. We always lived reasonably close to each other as children. And our parents probably took, like they would let us do things that we didn't think twice about at the time. But that if I was a parent now, I would just never let my children.
What
that.
did they let you do?
Try meth.
Yeah.
Well, it was Western Australia.
Yeah, true. A lot of money flying around.
But it was the 90s, which was maybe it feels like a safer time. I can't even remember exactly how old we are, maybe like 8 or 9. And on a Saturday, we would just be hanging out, and our parents would say, yeah, like that's fine if you want to go for a walk or down like the park, which was sort of maybe a kilometre away. Maybe we would I can't exactly remember, but even to us, it seemed like an incredible amount of freedom. Yeah.
Yeah.
To have.
Like strangers then, like there were more, stranger danger seemed more threatening then, and they were just letting us do whatever we wanted to do. Like I visited my family recently and walked up, like the house that I grew up in, and walked up around the kind of parky bushland that my sister and I and our cousins used to just be there for 4 hours at a time by ourselves, and it is so clearly a beat. Like it's so obviously an unsafe place to be, and that's as an adult. And in the 90s, it must have been worse.
We just didn't really think about it. We never had a bad experience, and maybe we were really lucky. I mean, we used to go round and, like, they have those Verge rubbish collections.
Yeah.
We used to go round with like a wagon and pick up all sorts of I mean, it literally is other people's junk, but it was the best.
Yeah.
And bring it home. And I can't believe my mother ever let that stuff in the house. Like, if I was...
That's a corpse.
It was like mouldy old toasters and TVs that didn't work and that sort
It
of
wasn't
stuff.
like, this is a gorgeous mid-century sideboard that someone's just wasted.
No, like, I think 10 to 12-year-old boys think different stuff is cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was probably all of
Well,
that, and we
you know
just
what?
completely overlooked it. Yeah.
I would have wanted that mid-century sideboard.
What did you and Andrew think you're doing? Are you on like a little mission? Are you like collecting stuff?
We just thought this stuff was like treasures, and because we were at an age where you weren't working, we were too young to have part-time jobs, and so you don't really have an income. So that is it felt like our currency to me. We had stuff. We started the day with nothing.
You were nesting.
And the fact that it was we were nesting.
Trade.
But it was like the fact that it was completely worthless didn't really factor it in. It was like, oh, well, we'll get this working, or it can't be that bad, or whatever,
Yeah.
Did you have that young boy need to break things? We used to go council pick up things, and we'd just find a fax machine and just like go to, I mean, this is maybe more about me than the rest of the world, but then we'd go to a condemned house and just smash the shit out of it.
Wow.
No? All right.
To a
We can keep
condemned
this in, or we can
house.
cut it out, whatever.
we had a setting on fire.
Yeah,
phase,
yeah,
I think.
yeah.
So we
Big
would
on
get
that.
stuff like that.
Oh, my
and
God.
Again, we had gardens and stuff that, maybe a lot of people, growing up now, that's so much more of a luxury really in the inner city. But we would put that on the bricks out the back and set fire to it. We used to get like deodorant cans and a match or whatever, like
Lynx Africa.
again, stuff that if I had children now, there is no way that they would be allowed to do.
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe TikTok is better. I don't know.
What kept you and Andrew friends? Because to begin with, it's proximity. It's your parents are friends. But once that wasn't keeping you together, what was it about Andrew that kept you friends?
So we would always have great conversations when we did catch up, because the reality is, I think as we've gotten older and older, probably, and this isn't a bad thing, the less we've had in common. But he is a great conversationalist and somebody who makes you feel listened to. And that is, I think, in the day and age of distractions, particularly phones, you feel like you're actually being engaged with and, that you matter. So, and of course, and I talk about this like it's the sort of greatest thing ever. I mean, I haven't texted him in 5 years.
Well, yeah. And that's how you treat
I'm
the
a fan
guys.
of honesty as well.
Do you think being like what makes you potentially like a good journalist as well as what makes you a good friend? Like you're kind of listening and also contextualizing things and giving the information back to them.
I think so. And I think it's interesting up to a point. I think so. I think with my best friends,
You don't publish their stories, for example.
no, and we kind of know a lot about each other, so
Off
we're
the
not really
record.
asking each other.
You have sources.
You have, but like
Deep
the people
throat?
I would go on dates with, for instance.
Yeah. Deep throat.
I was going to say, speaking of deep throat, no, but I would go on dates and I would think they were terrible, and the other person would text me and say, I had such a nice time with you. And I was like, yeah, because like for work, I ask questions.
Yeah,
and because
totally.
you weren't asking me anything, I asked you questions for 90 minutes.
Yeah, that's lovely.
People love
for you.
talking about themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So it kind of up to a point, but there's got to be more than that, right?
We would have had a great date.
Oh, still time.
The next category of friend that we talk about in the show is fastest friend. What comes to mind for you when you think of someone that you've just become friends with super quickly?
I've got a few people like this, but I think the one I want to speak about is somebody who burned very brightly and then actually burnt out as well, as they often can, all in the space of, 12 months. So this happened, this was while I was in London, so it was quite recent. And I met this person at a party. We've also reached the stage of the questioning where I'm going to start redacting names. We'll call the person X. This woman, it was quite a swanky party around Regent's Park, housewarming for a couple of friends of ours.
Yeah.
And I met this woman there, and she was just sparkling.
Yeah.
And she had had a couple of drinks but wasn't drunk. She was a great storyteller. She made you feel at ease. And, we would just spent hours chatting, to be quite honest. And I mean, it was a swanky party, which I feel
has a romance to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the older I've gotten, the more comfortable I've felt in those situations. But it's the sort of room that it would have been quite easy to be intimidated in, people with impressive jobs, etc. But she was a hairdresser, which was just so refreshing because she seemed to me like a completely lovely, normal person. And she clearly she loved what she did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she was also the only other Australian that I had found in the room. So I guess we had that.
Yeah.
And we do that,
There's
Australians,
a few
I think.
factors. Yeah.
Like, we find each other every time I'm here in London or at festivals or things. I think, one, because you can see us, we have a face. It's not a physical face, but we have a look on our face.
Do you think so?
Absolutely. It's the same way that you can spot Australians in an international airport. We walk like open, like we're just open to the universe.
It's a sort of gentle mullet that you might have that is a sort of a giveaway.
Yeah, there's this kind of like, but I can, but I
Just a
think
touch of a mullet.
I think we also find each other. I think we're like one of the countries that we yearn to find each other in other places. I think maybe other nationalities don't care. Like, I don't know how much the French are like, I must speak with other French people.
Yeah.
The other thing we had in common is that, we'd both lived in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, so she had the face, but it was like elevated.
Yeah, yeah. She's got the face, but it's a new one.
But so she was moving back to Australia at some point in the second half of that year. So we caught up a few times. It was really exciting, and we'd worked out that she was going to be back in Sydney when I was back there. So she came to my sort of birthday, I'm back in Sydney catch-up party. And all of my friends were like completely confused by this woman because they were like not.
Were they a bit like, well, who's this new girl in town?
And they exactly. Okay. And they would be mortified for somebody to make that comment about them, but that's what they did.
Bit clicky.
Right?
Bit clicky.
And so they're like, who is this person? And how do you know her again? And anyway, she made quite a good impression. Like,
I met her at Regent's Park in London.
Yeah, I said, like, she's a friend of mine from London, and she made a good impression on my friends,
So they came round.
They came round. And then, of course, she had moved back to Australia at this point, and I was, in Sydney for a few days, and I was back in London. So the friendship naturally drifted a bit, other than the odd reply to a Insta story. But it burnt out because obviously we had mutual friends, and that's how we first encountered each other at this party.
Oh, yeah.
So this group of people got together again in the summer in the south of France. And it was a really generous sort of party where accommodation had been, looked after, and we just kind of had to get
Are
our
your mutual
flights.
friends royal?
Was it Regent's Park or the Regent?
They're not royal, but they are fantastically wealthy and just wonderful people as well.
Okay.
So there was being so generous and looked after,
Amazing.
accommodation. We didn't, pay for a whole thing, and it was a weekend. I just think she got too excited, and her new boyfriend was there. And I don't say this lightly, but they disgraced Australia.
Shoeies? Oh my god!
And they got kicked out.
Of the holiday.
Of the holiday,
No,
yeah. Which was
major faux pas.
like just completely wild. And at one point somebody said, look, Riley, you are the person closest to her. Maybe you can talk to
within
her.
Even
this
closer than the
period of
mutual
time.
friend.
Yeah, that was well.
You'd
She
become her
was
wrangler.
so cross with them, that didn't really work, and so they got kicked out. And then,
Can you talk us through a bit of spicy detail about what the sort of crimes were?
just think of like the people that make you cringe at a wedding or something.
I kind of
Drunk and disorderly. vibe.
Right? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
the term new boyfriend already builds an image in my head. I think of like maybe someone, I've seen this happen before as well, where you see someone, they bring a new partner in and the partner comes in hot in a kind of like, I need to prove to you that I'm not going to take any of your bullshit, and there's been no bullshit yet. Like, do you know what I mean? There's like
Okay,
imagined idea that you don't like me.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's kind of what I have in my head. I'd imagine. Oh, I love finding out though.
Disgrace to the nation.
Getting
so-
kicked off a holiday, like
And
it's
this
a
was a
Kentucky
holiday
tour.
you want to be on. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
bottles of wine were just coming out and evaporating in front of us.
Yeah.
It was great. But
That can be
they,
scary. That can make you lose your mind.
like just way too excited.
Okay.
I think. And the best thing about it was, I think that was the Saturday night, maybe. So the Sunday morning, I thought there's no way that this group's going to be getting together again for the scheduled breakfast at 10 a.m. or something. But of course we were. And it was
God, it's like the traitors.
it was like so fabulously
Still
British.
turning up to breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Because like
Cool.
nobody talked about it the next day. It was fantastic. And I kind of, the Aussie and the journalist in me just wanted to be like,
Yeah.
there's an elephant not in the room,
Yeah.
But like,
Bring back Q&A.
Swept under the rug. How interesting.
and I thought I would never see her again. But
Here she is now.
she had some stuff in a storage locker.
Oh, classic.
And our mutual friend was out of town and she had to come pick it up. And so we did have a brief sort of 15-minute encounter sort of a couple of months ago.
Do you feel like with the events of that weekend away that she couldn't be friends with anyone in that group anymore? Like if you wanted to remain in the group, you were unable to remain friends with this person?
That's a great question. It's never been sort of spoken about.
Of course.
But that's certainly how I feel. I can't speak for everybody else. Nobody's sort of explicitly laid that out, but that's how I feel.
God, it
Yeah,
must
yeah.
have been fucked. Like,
And so when you're meeting up with her for the 15 minutes, does it feel sort of almost illicit? Did it feel like the last time that you were going to see each other?
It was excruciating.
Oh, no.
And, but I was kind of reveling in it.
I feel bad for her.
And I did too.
Yeah.
And that's genuinely, I felt awful for her, but I could
But
also,
also-
part of the adult world, actions
Yes.
often have consequences.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Not
yeah.
always, but often.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I felt
Being a
awful
grown-up
because I
person.
didn't know her to be a bad person. I still don't think that she is. But there was the sort of long walk.
you're literally going to find her baggage.
And
After she's shown so much of it already.
so we were like walking out with it, and that was excruciating enough. And then she said goodbye and sorry for everything. And that's kind of how we left it,
But do you kind of like seeking sort of people out at parties who might go this way? Like, was there any indication? Like, do you like a sort of new friend, a sort of sparkly new friend that's like a shiny new toy, and who knows what's going to happen?
I think so.
Bit of drama, bit of a
I think so.
story.
Yeah, much to my partner Daniel's disgust.
But I think that's often what shininess is, I think, is liability. Like, that's what makes them shiny, is that they're a little bit like, I don't give a fuck about any of this. And that's what's great and what's incredible. There's a freedom to that. And then you realize with some people, I've had this before, where you're like, oh, you don't give a fuck about anything or anyone. And that's where it becomes stressful. Like, you kind of can't have people in your life, I don't think, that like, I'm going to burn it all down. You're like, yeah, but I'm part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want to apologize. Well, I don't want to apologize for other people or sort of justify behavior, not even just with this person, but, with other people as well. Like,
of course.
friends like that do come with,
Yeah.
T's and C's.
Yeah.
You don't want to be doing damage control all the time.
And I
Yeah.
think it's particularly like party day. I think of all the friends that I used to like, party hard with, and some of them are still doing that. It's like at a certain point you're like, you can't, it's Tuesday, I don't want to do any cocaine, thank you. I'm all good. It's midday.
Isn't like becoming fast friends with people is kind of an important skill in journalism, like with sources, like you've got to, and I imagine that's kind of a weird line you've got to tread between like sort of being someone's friend and also them knowing that there's a good chance you're going to publicly say some of the things that they're saying or use the information that they're giving to you. How do you sort of navigate being friends with sources in journalism?
I've always had a rule, which is there's two parts to that. The first is I and can be incredibly manipulative when it comes to conversations, because if there's an awkward silence, I can fill it, right, with a question, with a observation. And that's just a learnt skill from interviewing a lot of people over many years and building up a rapport with somebody in 30 seconds, ideally.
Yeah.
And then never seeing them again.
Yeah.
And so that is a learnt manipulative skill to do my job
to be a
properly.
fast friend.
Yeah.
Sociopath, okay.
No, to do like to get the interesting details that most people in their lives will never meet a journalist or never come into contact with
Yeah,
the
that's
media
true.
In a journalistic setting.
in a journalistic setting. Like
Yeah.
they'll never be the, and that's a good thing. It
Yes.
often means something awful's happened to
Yeah.
them, or maybe something amazing.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
to have somebody else writing about your life or events in your life, it's an unusual thing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these people need somebody to make them feel at ease. And that's
Yeah.
what you're doing. I mean, I'm calling it manipulative. It's probably too harsh. It's you're just trying to make them feel at ease.
Yeah.
But that's a part of conversation as human beings as well. We are kind of all, doing some degree of manipulation, but you're sort of got quite a specific agenda.
Yeah. Like,
Well, it's flirting, I think. I think parts of journalism is kind of flirt, because when you're flirting with someone, you are trying to manipulate someone, I think, into thinking or like say, be honest about something and see the best version of you.
Totally. And I also think it's easy for me because, like, where I work at the ABC, I'm never asked to do hatchet jobs on people. So I'm never trying to lull them into this false sense of security and get them
Because
to
it's
give me
your
an
ABC.
Yeah.
get them to give me an answer.
And yours. And yours. Yeah.
The second bit of your question was about how do you navigate having sources who are friends. And my general rule is I just don't write about them. It's unnavigatable at the ABC because it's a clear conflict of interest,
You talked about like becoming friends quite quickly with a source, or like within 30 seconds getting up a rapport. As a foreign correspondent working in, I think there's even a language barrier between Australians and Americans, but like traveling to Tel Aviv and reporting on like a language barrier, culture barrier. How do you go becoming fast friends and building that rapport with people who don't speak the same language or the same sort of cultural language as you?
It's really difficult because you start to realize all of the cues that you used to pick up on, and they're speaking another language. So we'll have people with us. Like, I'll give you an example. I was in the West Bank and there was somebody talking about their situation, and they were speaking Arabic, and they really clearly had given a very detailed response to my question, which I'd asked in English. A translator had translated it, and they had gone on for sort of 10 minutes. It was ages, And I looked at the translator after they finished speaking and said, "What did he say?" And it's like, "Yeah, he says he's sad." It's
You're
like,
kidding me.
but like, but what did they really say? And so it creates an enormous barrier, and there's a little part of you which really is flying much more blindly than what you normally would.
Well, can you tell me what? So I understand. Like, I know what your job is, but what is a day-to-day look like when you're overseas being a foreign correspondent? I know that every day is different.
Doing podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, you know, we've been hanging out with you here before and you were like, oh, and now I'm going to blah, blah, blah in a couple days. Like, you get called in quite last minute sometimes.
Yeah. So,
Is it hit the ground running once you're there?
well, I love my job.
Yeah.
And so I'm a producer here in London in the Europe Bureau for the ABC. And, you know, whether it's the sort of travel in the front row seat to some of the sort of most incredible and tragic events that happen around the Middle East or around Europe, whether it's just sitting in an office here and providing some context for people back in Australia about what something really complicated might mean. You know, I was in the US for the presidential election last year, which was just the most fascinating time to be there. You know, I just love storytelling and explaining things to people. And somebody said to me once recently, when I told them what I did, he called his wife over. We were at a party. He called his wife over and said,
Go to a lot of parties.
Yeah.
he
Is that on our ABC dime?
This is like, it was some weekend. It was some weekend. And he said to his wife, love, this is another person that has a job that you don't do any work in, you know. And I took what he meant by that, which was like, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Most days.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
A front row to history sort
Ever
of thing.
change.
Right, yeah.
Do you think because you do spend such a large amount of your life, you know, communicating in different ways and speaking through filters and kind of manipulating or adapting or then having to shape something and to contextualize something, that actually friendships become such a source of respite and being able to finally kind of have barriers down? Do you find friendships maybe more meaningful for you in that sense?
I really do think so. Just as you're explaining that, I think that's my reality. I'm friendly with a lot of journos and I really value those friendships, but I think I'm most relaxed when I'm with people who work nowhere near the media or the ABC and, quite frankly, don't care. You know, they never ask you what's going on or, you know what I mean? And actually some of there's a little part of me, this sort of arrogant, snobby part, is just horrified by that sometimes when they're like, so like, what's this war in Gaza all about? And you're kind of like, oh my God, you know.
Yeah.
But,
And also, how do you explain that in like a bite size? We're like, well,
but so I think I like it when we're not talking news, we're not talking politics, and we can just talk about, you know, the TV that we've watched and the mindless sort of, and that's the other way you unwind, mindless, senseless television. You know, like
when we first met was years ago. We're like probably well over a decade, like probably close to 13 years probably, and you had not come out yet. And I don't want to say you came out late in life because I think that is bullshit. Like, there's no later because when you come out is when you come out.
Right, but it was kind of late.
Yeah. How old were you?
Yeah. I was like mid-20s, 25.
Yeah, which is not like, you know.
Yeah.
It's not
for our
your
generation,
80s.
It's later than most in our generation.
Yeah.
No, I'd managed to avoid
You
having
weren't married
the
and
wife
having kids. Yeah. But
steered away from that iceberg.
in terms of friendships, like, did you then outwardly, I mean, I don't know if you already had a lot of queer friends, but did you then have to kind of think to yourself, I got to get myself some gays?
I didn't, I mean, I had some queer friends, like I had Kyron, you know, and maybe others.
But I guess it's like, it's a community thing, right? Like you realize you're in this community and then you've got to kind of, later than our generation, kind of get into it, right? Like, did you have a yearn to get into that community?
Not initially, but the more comfortable, I guess, I became, for want of a better word, I sort of did. You know, it was something that built over time. And I think I didn't have many queer friends. I mean, I had Kyron and maybe, I've had a couple of friends who have sort of come out later as well than I did. as sort of being, not sure exactly what label they want to put on
Yeah,
it. But,
yeah.
Definitely don't feel like they're completely
Yeah.
straight. I had quite a meat and potatoes professional life. I was one of those people who was lucky enough not to really have to worry too much about what my parents would think. I mean, you're always terrified about telling them, but I didn't seriously think it was going to have any repercussions, right? So that was very fortunate. But I had worked as a sports journalist, and that is, even though a lot of progress has been made, it is a very basic world. I guess I don't mean basic in an offensive sense. I mean, like, it's just, it's simple and
It's numbers.
It's numbers, and it's not something that people were talking about. So I guess I also had lived in a regional area for 4 years, while I was working. And again, while I don't mean anything sort of offensive to that area, you don't have to get. I think if you live in the inner suburbs of Sydney or Melbourne or Perth or whatever, it's very easy to get lulled into this idea that, because everybody's got a gay friend or a gay relative or, queer acquaintance, that everything is fine now. And you don't need to get very far outside of a major capital city to see a wealth of evidence that says that's not the case. And that was my experience, like it was.
It was your original. It was the first time you were a foreign correspondent.
Exactly.
Reporting from the regions as a gay.
Undercover
Undercover as well. Yeah.
and so I just think that probably kept me in the closet longer.
When you did move to Sydney, and I think you moved, was it Paddington that you moved to? So it's a pretty gay neighbourhood
Bit gay,
too.
yeah.
But did you?
That'll do it.
Yeah. Was it a quick? Like, did you suddenly see a sort of community? Like, was it like just stepping into that so suddenly? Because it would have been quite different.
It was fantastic. I lived like a kilometre away from the Strip, which was pre-COVID. It was pumping.
Yeah.
I worked with a bunch of gay people. I mean, when I first sort of got a phone call from somebody at the ABC telling me, trying to organise my first day and stuff, and I was still in WA at that time, they were gay. And, that was a relief, I think, just to Sydney's a great gay city, and where I lived was a great gay area. And you'd see lots of things like two men holding hands walking down the street, and that's not something that it's just not something I had really been exposed to that much, It was so normal there. It was almost in places like Potts Point or whatever. It's like kind of the majority. It felt like,
Yeah. Did you find you got something different from queer friends and having many queer friends in Sydney than like 25 years where like me living on the other side of the country was your only queer friend?
Totally, because you can just queen out over stuff, And
Do you think you got gay? Like, do you think you got gayer? Like, does that make sense? Like, as in you?
Because Reese clearly does.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean,
I think you may have even said that to me before.
Probably. Well, I think there's a thing that happens where, broadly speaking, when people realise that they're queer, there's like a bell curve where you get really gay because you're trying to work out what you are, like within the community. Like you're trying to, and you kind of go around tasting all the dips. And then you settle.
Well, not everyone.
Not everyone.
What a revolting image.
No, but then you settle into like you find where you sit in the community.
Yeah, and I think other people have said to me, you've gotten gayer over time, and I probably have. I think, like more comfortable with who I am.
With yourself?
With yourself.
I still don't present as, I mean, there's so many layers to this, right? Like, I still don't present as somebody who's like particularly gay. And I think in the queer community, we've got a lot of work to do in that space, right? So that annoys me a little bit because I don't try and not present as gay. It's just I kind of try and present as who I am. And maybe after a couple of rosés, the sort of, I get a bit camper. And that's fine. It certainly I'm the last person who sort of thinks about that. But I guess the joke I'll often make at friends' houses is like, well, your husband's a lot gayer than me. And
Yeah.
it'll be kind of, because it's kind of true.
Yeah.
You know, like they actually will be a bit camper than I am.
Yeah.
We do have a funny thing, I think, in our, particularly the kind of male presenting side of the queer community of like, I'm too gay sometimes for gay people. And then there's also people that aren't gay enough to be gay. And it's like, well, what do you want? Like, at what point are we all just going to be like different parts of it? I don't know. Like
Yeah. But then I think as someone similar to Riley who doesn't, like, I don't present as particularly queer. And then I think when you are queer, the queer community points it out to you almost in a homophobic way. It's
Yeah.
almost like, oh, that's the campus you've ever been. And it's like, it sort of shuts
All right,
you
I take back
down.
the question. Jesus Christ, everyone.
No, but it does, doesn't it? It kind of shuts down that element or that part of you or whatever. And it's like, why can't you just be whoever you are at any time?
Yeah, well, it's that that sort of term that used to get. You don't hear it as much anymore, but it's straight acting. Oh, there's sort of straight acting, and you would see it on apps and stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it's like,
interesting.
well, for me, it's not. It's not an act. You know,
Yeah.
this is kind of like who I am.
Yeah,
But
totally.
I just think that as much as I love the queer community, we've got a little bit of work to do in
Yeah.
that space, and I would love people to feel as comfortable as I do. You know.
Yeah.
Did you find that, being in the closet till you were 25, did that affect friendships when you did come out? Were there any people who were confronted by that, or any friendships that were perhaps lost as we edge into the next question, which is former friend?
No. And that I'm aware that makes me very, very fortunate and privileged. And I'm forever grateful
Yeah.
for that, because it's impossible to collect data on this. But I've
Yeah.
certainly anecdotally heard that, I know, I haven't just heard, I know that that's not everybody's experience. Mine was overwhelmingly positive. But I guess sometimes if I look at the 35 years I've been around, I feel like I've pretty much have every free kick you could have gotten in life, right? I am white, I am male. I was lucky enough to grow up in a family where we didn't want for much. And one thing I'm always really grateful for is my queerness, because it's allowed me sometimes, in some circumstances, to feel othered. And I think that is an important feeling to have. Sometimes I have felt uncomfortable or that I just won't be able to fit in. And so even though my experience of coming out was very positive, I guess if you extrapolate that to the rest of my life, there have been moments that have been difficult. And it's important because it helps you empathize with other people who may feel that, who don't tick as many boxes as I do,
We don't tick any boxes anymore.
Yeah.
What comes to mind when we ask the question of a former friend?
Oh,
Which
God.
can be interpreted in a myriad of ways. It can be someone who was a friend and became a lover, or it could be a friend who's no longer with us, or a friendship that's just sort of fizzled. I mean, we sort of covered it with
They could
your
have been
with your
kicked off
fast
a
friend who
party on a
burnt out.
cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's got a broad definition, but I mean, I felt like it would be remiss of me not to bring you a sort of fireball.
Thank you.
Because let's be honest,
That's what we're here for.
it's what you want.
Yes, we appreciate you.
Well, it's not something that because we don't, and the reason we ask this question is that we don't have the language around this. We talk about like breakups in relationships and romantic breakups all the time, and then no one seems to talk about the friendship breakups which do happen. And I think when people share those stories, we can help to sort of understand it ourselves.
Yeah,
Can be a very lonely experience, yeah.
totally. And I was reading some of our text messages last night, and I felt a bit of like and this is not usual for me, but I felt a bit of like a clawing sensation, in my chest. Like, oh, this was not great, this situation. So we're going back to when I was living in Sydney, and I was in this amazing share house, and there was 4 rooms, 4 of us living there. And of course, I lived there for 7 years. So in that time, there were people coming and going
Yeah.
a lot,
Yeah.
really. And it was always such an easy place to fill rooms. When we did have to fill a room, it would take like one night of having people around because they'd be, and how much did you say it was? You know?
Yeah.
So
Oh, bliss.
and I'm not proud of this. And my
Lay it on the
housemates
table.
at the time shouldn't be either.
Okay.
But we were filling a room
Oh, dear.
and we offered it to this person just because he was incredibly, like, debilitatingly hot.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're all guilty of
Yeah,
allowances
yeah,
to
yeah.
We
sexy
got the
people.
giggles, and it's true. We actually, before we offered it to him,
funny.
and all of the people who had come to look at it
Yeah.
left for the night, we were sitting around with a glass of wine, and we all agreed that, like, life is a little bit easier for really attractive people.
Oh, yeah.
And so we
Well,
gave.
yes and no, because it's a disingenuine advantage as well. He thinks.
He thinks he's got it on merit,
Yeah.
and he's really just kind of.
And when you were like, yes, okay, let's all agree. Do you think people were going, I'm
We're
going
gonna
to try
root
and
him.
shag him, or is it just like something nice to gaze at while you have your morning coffee?
Yeah.
Both are valid.
The male
I'm trying to
gaze
think
on a
if we
few
lived there at the
levels.
moment. We had one lesbian, me, and he was this. I mean, he was hot, but he was disgusting.
Yeah,
like he
okay.
was a disgusting,
Can be too
revolting
much.
straight boy. Do you know what I
Okay,
mean?
okay, yeah,
And like in the 2 years he lived there, I think I saw him wash his sheets.
Oh,
once.
no. Oh, no.
Like we could have snapped that shit in half.
Oh,
you know what I
good.
mean?
Yeah, do you know what
Heavens.
though? Some of the best sex you're ever going to have in your life are people living in absolute squalor. Like it's always the guy that has a t-shirt instead of a pillowcase.
Oh,
Like just the
Didn't
and
even
you're
know.
like, how did I get here? And then
That is
you have a
insane.
real good time.
Wow, that's
So,
a memory.
you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he got this room and he was fine, right? The longer we lived together, I realized how stingy he was, and he was debilitatingly stingy. Like,
Oh.
he would get Uber Eats or whatever delivered every night for dinner, which is expensive, right? But he would complain about it and say, "Oh, it's cold," or "Oh, whatever." And then you at least back then you would get it refunded. And so he basically ate for free or got vouchers and discounts. And eventually he did get blocked from
They
these,
do.
but
They notice.
It took a lot longer than what I thought,
Gosh, he was using
So
those good looks.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
You just send Uber Eats a picture of his face
Yeah,
and be
yeah.
like, all right.
so then I also I felt like he might have complained about the drivers and stuff, and I felt really bad about
Yeah, that's
that.
not
But
great news.
He wouldn't put in the fridge, carked it. He wouldn't put in for a new one. And we're talking like $50, like
This
second
guy's
hand.
becoming very unsexy.
But you know what? I still want to root him.
No. Hate fuck. Yeah.
I mean, but I was big on having a house that felt like this was our home.
Yeah.
And so, if my friends came round, it would always be a case of, everyone join in if you want to. We're just drinking and having a barbecue or whatever. And every time my friends would leave and he had been there, they would tell me, I'm not sure about this guy. I think he's a bad dude. I don't think, he's just be careful of him. And I was kind of like, oh, whatever. Like, he seems nice enough. He's a bit stingy, but he always paid his rent. So eventually the sort of steady stream of women going into his room stopped, and he had a girlfriend who was lovely.
Okay.
And she would come around a lot. But I didn't really think anything of it, like I wanted a house that people felt comfortable in. I didn't want to be funny about partners coming around. So
Maybe she'd wash the sheets once in a while. That would be
I
nice.
thought this would be good for him.
Yeah.
And then maybe, I don't know, 6 months later, they decided they were going to move out. But they did it in this clandestine way where they kind of didn't give much notice, and they had already signed the lease on a place a few suburbs over. And, when it came time to talk about money and, what might happen if there wasn't a flush changeover between when he wanted to move out and when somebody could move in, what would happen then? And, because he was so stingy, this just blew up, right? And I look back at our text messages. And I think I tried to reason with him for a bit, and then I just sent him one, which I'm not proud of, but it was, I knew that one thing he was really self-conscious about was the fact that he didn't have many friends.
There's this manipulator coming into
here we
it.
go.
I'm really going to go low. And I texted him and I said, this is why you have no friends.
Okay, so straight up, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Headline.
because you are and always have been a massive
Yes.
Can't.
and I think he said that's wonderful and
Thank you so much.
and moved out. So he left, right?
Yeah.
So happy days. We obviously, haven't ever needed to speak again. But my friends came round after he moved out and they said, oh, thank God, we need to tell you something.
Oh, no.
And I said, what? I didn't really think anything of it. And the rent was so cheap, it didn't really matter. I can't exactly remember how that all landed. But so they said, his girlfriend was spending a lot of time at the house before she moved in. And I said, yeah. It turns out that she had given up the lease on her place in Double Bay, a couple of suburbs over, and had been living for free in our house for 7 months
Whoa.
before.
You didn't notice that you had a new roommate?
Every night.
Was she
She
like
was there a lot.
Was she hiding in the roof during the day or something?
She was just around a lot, but I didn't really think
Yeah, 24/7.
She was kind of always there, but I didn't really think anything of it. And I was
doing the
out
dance
sort
a
of
bit.
partying and
Yeah.
seeing people. I guess she was just always there.
Yeah.
But he moved her in sort of 7 months earlier, and then when they couldn't live with themselves anymore and felt like they needed to, they were ripping us off, they came clean and said, they didn't come clean, they were like, maybe it's a good idea if she moves in officially and we split the rent a different way, despite the fact that had actually happened sort of
The whole
6-7
time.
months
Oh
earlier.
my
Yeah.
God.
So wild, but I mean,
Their conscience
It
got
was-
the better of them. Wow.
everybody, it gets it to everybody
Yeah.
eventually.
Was she hot?
Interesting.
Well, you're asking the wrong person.
Yeah.
She was kind. She was very pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were a hot couple.
Yeah. Just floating through the world.
Did you feel like you were friends?
Yeah. Because I looked back at our text messages and I would say we weren't close friends, but we would go for drinks and we were talking about concert tickets and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, we were
Totally.
friends.
Isn't
Yeah.
that a weird thing of the modern age? I mean, I guess it's not very modern anymore, but that you can go back through text messages of whole relationships years ago and you can reread with hindsight, and it is quite confronting and weird.
Totally. It was like a time capsule. It took me 2 seconds.
But if the rest of
Yeah.
your friends had sort of noticed that someone had moved into your own house and you hadn't noticed that someone had moved into your house, do you feel like you can overlook things that you look past in friendships? You look past stuff pretty easily. And
You seem like a great housemate.
I
Very
mean,
easy
I was
going.
Let's all move in together, guys.
But is this true in a lot of your friendships that you just that's fine. I'm very forgiving of stuff and just get to...
I think it's right on point. I think I am quite forgiving and not to a fault. I am happy. Everybody's got a red line, or certainly I do. It just must be quite far, in the distance.
Right.
Because I guess I am quite forgiving of people. But he had told them. So he'd got drunk, at barbecues, and told my friends that he had moved his girlfriend in.
Why wouldn't they just tell you before?
This is what
so
I'm still
weird.
pissed about.
So they're the real form of
Why are they
friends.
protecting him?
This is exactly what I thought today, because I had forgotten that. I was I was annoyed
Yeah.
about it at the time, and then I was annoyed about it again today. I was like, why didn't they just tell me? I could have confronted. That actually would have been, I would have quite enjoyed that moment of sort of that
Yeah.
gotcha moment,
Exactly. Maybe we should text them. And also,
I'll do it now.
text them now.
Well, perhaps one
Yeah.
of these friends that didn't tell you makes this last category, or perhaps it's someone else. But who would
That's
you?
what we're up to.
Who would you say is? But who would you say is your forever friend, Riles?
Well, I think I have a lot of these because
Bragging.
Clang.
no, well, I mean, you don't look, but you don't want to. I was kind of thinking of all of my friends, and I was thinking, you know, are any of these kind of like not going to go the distance? I mean, you don't know what the future holds,
Yeah.
but I'd like to think that all of them
That is a nice thought.
would.
Yeah.
But the one I settled on, Kyron, is actually you, I think.
Gross.
This is why I asked you on.
Well, no, because
What the fuck?
I was thinking though, like, I can't think what would come between us, probably. I mean, we've been friends like probably 20-ish years, just over.
Yeah.
But in that 20 years, we haven't lived in the same cities for much of that at all.
No.
Like, you kind of have had a couple of stints in Melbourne.
It helps to have some distance from Kyron.
Yeah. Tell me
It's
about it.
probably why it's kind
Yeah.
of, you know, different hemispheres makes it.
Yeah. And that's how far away Camperdown and Paddington are. It's like living in different countries.
No, it was more
So
like we
true.
lived in Sydney. When I moved there, you guys were there for like a year maybe, or I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly how long it was. And we did hang out
Yeah.
a lot in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you moved. So I guess if we were all living in the same cities, then we would see each other more. But I just think, well, why has it persisted, you know, for as long as it has?
Yeah.
And it must be because we make time for each
Yeah,
other,
yeah.
right? Like, you know, if you're in London, you'll make time
Yeah.
to see me. And
Well, also, we met through your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what's your
yeah.
origin story? Talk us through it. Let's go. Let's get into this.
Riley's older brother was in my school year.
Okay.
And and we were friends. We were in the same friend group, and we lived around the corner for each other. And so, you know, we'd hang out. I'd go around to Dustin's place, and blah, blah, blah. And then
yeah.
his younger brother was
This
there.
is Dustin Hoffman.
Yes,
Who-
of
Yeah.
course. Yes. Yes. He was the same age as Kyron.
Yeah.
But his younger brother there was there, who it turned out I think I had more in common with. And then, you know, we'd kick the footy, we'd go for a jog,
Yeah.
we'd sort of hang out a lot, just in the
Pretty
same,
cool for you. Pretty uncool for you.
in the same neighborhood.
I'm going to hang out with a guy 2 years younger than me. I'm
really
17.
thought
I'm going to hang
Yeah.
out with the 15-year-old.
I never really
Younger.
thought of it like that. But
True.
I never thought of it like that. But that's
was
totally
a
a thing, though,
huge
right?
deal at school.
Yeah.
For me, it was a bit of like cred. You know?
Yeah.
For you, it was a bit weird, probably.
Yeah.
But
Not really.
Yeah.
It was just another guy in the same neighborhood, I think. Like, and I don't know. Yeah, we did just have a lot in common. But I think like it's sort of telling when you say like we make time for each other. Like here in London at the moment, your brother lives in London, and we're not going to catch up.
yeah, right. Yeah.
So I think that you're right in that it's like that for some reason we do. If we're in the same place, it's like, no, we're just definitely going to catch up with Riles.
Totally. And when we do catch up, because we don't, the other thing is that I've got friends that I stay in contact with, you know, all the time, you know, but the other thing is, and this is a good thing, I think, but we don't really like text all the time. Like we don't text like every week, maybe.
No.
You know, when there's something that needs to be texted about,
Yeah.
we will text.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's like, so I've got friends that I stay in better contact with and,
Yeah.
you know, that I see more regularly because they live around the corner or whatever. But when we do get together, it's like we saw each other the week before or something, and we have, you know, long hours long sort of chats and
Yeah.
Has
whatever.
it ebbed and flowed throughout the 20 years? Like, have you had moments of closeness and then
Well-
drifting a bit and then coming together closer, or is it this kind of constant in the background, do you think?
I feel like it's a better way to describe it as like constant in the background. I mean,
Yeah.
we've never I guess in a sense we've had like coming together because when we're in the same place we'll always see each other. But
Yeah.
but it's always, we've never sort of fallen out of touch
No.
at all. And it's never really in my mind come close to falling out of touch, you know. So it's never, there's not an awkwardness.
And I think something, I don't know whether it's like we're both just this way, but certainly like when we were kids, we would catch up and talk about real stuff very quickly. Like it was like we were asking
Right.
each other about like, you know, our lives, getting deep relatively quickly, getting philosophical relatively quickly when we were young. Like
that was all the cheap red wine.
yeah. Yeah. But I think it sort of set a ground, like a foundation of depth.
Yeah.
Of depth in a friendship, so that later on in life, you know, we access that quite quickly.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
Yeah, it's sort of we're immediately talking about deep stuff and not sort of surface level things.
That's what he comes to me for.
And that's just
Superficial.
idle,
Yeah.
mindless chit-chat.
Just like,
Trivial.
those are nice shoes.
Does that feel right?
I think so. And I think as well, you're not flaky, which is a trait that I've come to really pride myself on and also judge
Reason I
others
get
on.
very
Yeah,
stressed.
we need to.
Shit.
Because if you say you're going to be somewhere, you'll be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've
And-
never been anywhere.
Despite saying that you'll be in lots of places.
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I make a lot of promise. I'm meant to be in Guam right now.
It's a genuine chocolate races here.
Yeah, but it's so if you say you're going to be somewhere, you turn up, which does make the other person feel quite valued, I
Yeah.
guess, at some
Yeah.
level. And-
Steadfast.
yeah,
Well, okay, now to be really gross, because we don't often have friends, in front of us to study. But what would you say is one of Kyron's best friendship qualities? And Kyron, what would you say is one of Riley's
then you guys have
best
to kiss
friendship
each other on the
qualities?
lips.
Yeah, and then remove one item of clothing each.
No, we're both in long-term relationships. No, those days are gone.
We're on the cuck couch.
the casting couch. Yeah. What is one of the best friendship qualities Kyron has? Well, on top of the sort of non-flakiness, I think he is an amazing conversationalist. And he is, when you talk to Kyron, you have intelligent conversation. He's
all
read
the
up
bloody time.
on, whether it's world affairs or, a myriad of topics. He's prepared to have an opinion on it, but also
Yeah.
listen and have his mind change. And he's also, I would say, quite an inclusive person. So, he will not be afraid to bring friends that maybe haven't met before together or whatever. And I think that's a good trait to have within reason. Like I'm always a bit terrified of doing that, But you, in my experience anyway, you actually do that, and I think that's impressive because I don't do it as much.
I think that's
I love-
very true.
Prepared to have an opinion about everything is the most diplomatic way I've ever said that. I'm going to start using that. It's like,
Yeah.
Kyron's prepared to have an opinion.
Yeah, and offer it.
Yeah.
And I can't think of anything. But I would say honesty, I think, actually, Riles, is that, like, you're not going to bullshit. If I ask you a question about something or, like, what's like something about my life or something, you're going to tell me the truth no matter what it is. And you'll find, like, a gentle way of saying it if it's confrontational. But you'll just be very honest and find the way to be really honest, which I really value.
Yeah, I'm probably if you asked people that know me, I'm known for the odd truth bomb every now and then.
Yeah, which I think which is
Yeah.
very similar. I think that's something that we have in common.
Yeah. Not always, wrapped in wrapping paper. Sometimes
Yeah.
just rolled down the hallway and see what happens.
Have you had to have difficult conversations between the two of you, do you think?
Well, this was something else I was thinking about. I am not sure whether we've ever had an argument or not. I couldn't think of a time.
No.
I don't think, not in the time that I've known you.
And I couldn't think of a time that you had, despite us just, notwithstanding what we just said about, happy to give honest opinions, I can't think of a time that you have offended me either. So maybe I think we maybe have values that align largely and that hasn't really had to come up before. But and I might have missed it, but I just think even if it did happen by virtue of the fact I had forgotten about it, it can't have been that big a deal.
Well, you can have someone living in your house for 7 months and not notice. So you're very easygoing.
Yeah. That's the one way I can not offend people.
That would never.
Well, I haven't been someone's forever friend on this show before, so thank you very much.
I can be the
You're
first.
going to make him blush.
If
That's very
someone
nice.
doesn't make me their forever friend. I'm looking at the list of who are doing these sessions and I'm not any of their forever friend.
Yeah.
Gotta not be so flaky.
I've got to make a friend, get them famous.
Yeah.
So by next round of interviews, I'm their forever friend.
Well, it's not common for journalists to have to answer this many questions. So thank you very much, Riley, for coming on the show.
My pleasure. I'm exhausted.
Riley.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not
sorry.
my usual shtick. So thank you for having me.